up, everyone? Welcome back to Vikings Brawl. My name's Tyler Carmer, and I'm your host. And I've got my co-hosts with me, Austin Winders and Byron Chamberlain. You can find us all on Twitter at CarmerNFL, at Winders20, and at BC_Chamberlain. Find the show at Vikings Brawl. And we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. And to get started, I'm going to kind of bring up some news that just happened. What do you guys think about the NBA postponing the rest of the regular season because of the containing the coronavirus?
I think it's pretty crazy, to be honest. That news was just shared a few minutes ago with us. Obviously, that's the NBA and not the NFL, but with that comes a lot of other things that could possibly affect the NFL as well. We just saw recently that the draft is currently as well postponed until further notice. So I'm not too sure how much longer this is supposed to last, but it's pretty crazy, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a crazy deal to understand where we actually are, and how short of a time it's taken us to get here. And the NBA, I think they're trying to be proactive. They got these sold out arenas every night, and so they're trying to be responsible and taking steps beforehand before some serious situation happens. So I applaud the NBA for being proactive. I just wonder how long this is going to last. We also see the NCAA taking measures where their conference championships are going to be played with no fans in the stands. So, wow, it's just incredible, like where we are and the reality of the world we live in right now.
Yeah, would you guys go ahead and go out and play in like the NCAA tournament if they said you're playing with no fans, or would you be against that? That's tough.
I would say I would do what was asked of me. Obviously,
Yeah,
it's one of those things.
Saw some people on Twitter with the mindset of, if there's no fans there, that I probably wouldn't play. That's that's certain people's opinion.
I saw LeBron said something about that the other day as well. It's a little different when you're in the NBA and you're getting a paycheck for it, and those people that are paying you to do it. I would follow along, and if it's one of those things, if they're taking all the everything that they can do to be able to make sure that people aren't getting sick, and we can still enjoy that. And still enjoy the sports. It's one of our getaways. You know what I mean? Sports is one of those things that you can use to actually get away from reality and things going on in the world. And so just postponing and canceling everything for the foreseeable future just wouldn't be, in my opinion, the best thing to do. The world needs to keep running, and we need to keep going as best as we can. So I would play if I could.
Let me ask you this. The reaction that you saw on Twitter about people said they wouldn't want to play, were these coming from players or are these just regular fans?
No. Players weren't tweeting that out. This was fans or just your everyday Twitter fingers.
Well, I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak from the player's perspective. Being a NCAA athlete myself and being a professional athlete and just being around athletes and being in locker rooms, players want to play. And a lot of times you hear players talking about, well, I would do this for free, but they're paying, so I'm doing it for free right now. But no, players want to play, and we don't care. We want to compete, and so I don't think you'll get any static from any of the guys that or girls that are asked to go out there and play without any fans in the stand. We want to compete. We want to do our best. We want to measure ourselves against the best. And at the end of the day, for them, it's about the competition. It's about finding ways to win. And obviously, these kids are playing for conference championships, so they're excited about it. People get to watch it on TV, but they're not going to be concerned as a player whether the fans are in the stands or not. Now, I'll say this. The one negative that they'll take from this is the fact that their families won't be there. I mean, that's a big deal for a player when you play in these big games and these championship games, and you're going to have some kid out there who's a senior, and this is going to be their last opportunity going for a conference championship, and his mom, his dad, his brothers, his sisters, his aunts, his uncles are not going to be able to be there and actually cheer him on. And if they win, actually celebrate with them or console them when they come off the court when they lose. That's the only negative that I see. With
a great point.
The NCAA, taking, it could, because it is about that experience, and and that's a big part of our lives is when we play sports, having our families there and the connection we make and the opportunity to celebrate with our family or for our families to console us when it doesn't go our way. Yeah. So that's the only negative that I see in them doing this.
I like that point of view.
That's one I didn't think about either. I mean, it's one of those things you only think about if it kind of affects you. And for me, somebody who I wasn't planning on going to any games in the foreseeable future or attending any of those games, if they're still being played on TV, we can still watch them from home. It just, like you said, it affects them a lot more because they can't be there in person. So
my first thought when they postponed the draft was how long would they be willing to postpone it? And if it got to the point, would they end up just doing it like you just send the picks in?
Old school, like they used to do, man. Guys would be out at the bowling alley and get a call. Hey,
we're picking you up.
By the Giants, man.
Like, are they going to do that eventually? Like, I don't know. Or put it on pay-per-view and you get to watch them call the picks in. I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know.
Talking about the draft though and the compensatory picks,
you might want to call Roger Goodell with that. Put it on pay-per-view, man.
See,
Roger Goodell is all about monetizing stuff.
I could get a job right away if I'm telling him how to make some money. Yeah.
Yeah.
But talking about the draft and the compensatory picks just coming out, I'm sure by now you guys have seen the Vikings got an extra third and 2 7ths. Yep. And that's for the Sheldon Richardson contract and then Tom Compton and Nick Easton. That's where the 7ths come from. And that extra third is huge. I don't like
that could.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options that we could potentially take with that pick. I mean, everything that I've seen on the internet and from everybody out there, everybody's saying get Hurts there. I mean, we could get our potential quarterback of the future with that pick.
Hurts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind when I heard it. I was like, man, that is a great position to pick one of those quarterbacks that you might think have some upside. Is not a first round guy, but you think very highly of. That is the first thing that came to my mind. The second thing that came to my mind is that compensatory pick in the 7th round. Because you can find some true diamonds with those kind of
gems.
Yeah, you find some nice receiver that's willing to transition to the tight end in those picks right there.
Oh yeah, like a specific example of
yeah, 1995.
I was gonna say back in '95.
Pick, for the Broncos. That came with the Broncos that had made a trade with the Atlanta Falcons for a guy out of Colorado, Mike Pritchard, receiver, and they got a compensatory pick for that, and I was the compensatory pick, the 222nd pick of that draft, the last of the Broncos picks that year, and hey, they found a jewel at the end of the draft.
So were you at the bowling alley then? Is that when Gary called you?
No, I was actually at my agent's house, and tell you this story. So, coming into that year, I think in Mel Kiper's top 10 receivers that year, I think I was number 8. I was the 8th receiver pick on his board, and I, just talking to people. They kind of said, hey, you're going to be around the 3rd or 4th round. But a lot of people were leaning to the 4th round. And actually, there was a projection that had me getting selected in the 2nd round. So
wow.
I'm making best case scenario somewhere between 2nd and 4th round, okay? And actually get a call in the 3rd round. from the Green Bay Packers, which is one of the teams that I had thought would draft me. The teams that were really interested, that I thought at the time were Green Bay Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs were very interested, and the New Orleans Saints. I know I had worked out for Denver, and I know that that I had done a good job at working out for Denver, but I think they kind of kept it under their hat what they were trying to do. And so I get a call in the third round, and it's the Green Bay Packers, and they just kind of simply asked, "Hey, are you available?" I'm like, "Of course I'm available."
Haven't been picked yet.
Yeah, haven't been picked yet, and so they're like, "We're thinking about going with a receiver this pick," and I said, "Okay." We hung up the phone, and so I'm thinking to myself, "Okay, I'm going to be a Green Bay Packer. It's cold up there, but hey, it's a storied franchise playing in Lambeau Field." And the Green Bay Packers make their selection, and it's Antonio Freeman. They go with Antonio Freeman out of Virginia Tech, which was a great pick for them. I mean, Antonio did a great job. He's a good friend of mine, and he fit, right in that offense. And then, so the draft keeps going on. Excuse me. Third round's over, fourth round's over, fifth round. And I'm like, wow, those are the rounds that people told me, I was going to get picked. Sixth round comes up. And near the end of the sixth round, I get a call. At the end of the sixth, beginning of the seventh, I get a call, New England, and it's the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints call me and they say, and I know they got to pick that in the seventh round. So I'm like, okay, well, here it is. Here it is. The Saints, I know they're one of the teams that's interested in me. And they simply, get on the call. They said, hey, if you don't get drafted, we'd like to talk to you about coming to us as a priority free agent. And, I was kind of like, I don't know. I was kind of insulted a little bit because I was still in my mind thinking, I'm going to get picked. Somebody's going to pick me. I know I'm good enough to play. I'm good enough to pick. So, I just kind of say, hey, I'll consider it. Thanks for the call, and hung up the phone. And so, we kind of have a meeting of the minds with my agent. My mom's there. My family's there. So we're kind of talking. And as the seventh round is going by, and we're trying to get a game plan together for what if I don't get picked, and trying to see, okay, where is a good spot for me to land as a free agent. That's one of the beautiful things about being an undrafted free agent is you get to kind of pick, based on who has interest in you, where you go. And so they're talking. I'm halfway listening because I'm still in my mind thinking I'm gonna get picked. Doesn't matter. And so my agent is throwing out all these teams. People are talking about, what's going to happen. Will you still get a signing bonus, whatever? And I hear in the background with the 222nd selection of the 1995 draft, the Denver Broncos select Byron Chamberlain. And they're still having this conversation. Nobody's heard of me. And I said, and so I stopped that conversation and was like, hey, all that stuff don't matter. I just got picked. And everybody said, what? I said, I just got picked. And then the phone rings, and it's Mike Shanahan, and I, talked to Mike. He's like, welcome me to the Denver Broncos. And that was my draft experience, man. It was kind of bittersweet because nobody heard it. Nobody got to celebrate or whatever.
Yeah.
You call your name and yay. But I heard my name over all the conversation, and then the calls came in and the hugs and the congratulations. So at the end of the day, it all worked out.
That's awesome. That's got to be kind of unexpected to be like 1 year in where I'm going to be going if I'm undrafted. Then you just hear, wait, was that my name?
Yeah. Well,
before calling you.
And the thing about it was I a little disappointed? As a competitor, I got to say yes. But the other thing is, I was grateful. I was really grateful to that I did get picked. There was, about 240 something picks that year, being 227, saying, "Hey, I'm in the top 240 football players in America.
Yeah.
and somebody actually wanted me. Um, you know, the another quick story is, when I was struggling a little bit, not getting much playing time in training camp, I go to the wide receiver coach, Mike Heimerdinger. Rest in peace, Mike. He was one of my first position coach. And Mike, I go to Mike, man. I'm just I'm upset. I'm mad, frustrated. And I'm like, Mike, what's going on, man? I'm not getting these opportunities. And he comes to me and he's like, listen, I know you're upset, man, but think about this. How many receivers did we draft this year? And I'm like, well, I was the only one that you got drafted. He's like, okay, we got a plan for you. Don't worry about it. And he just left the room. I'm thinking to myself, what's the plan? You guys, what's the plan? Are you just going to have me here and then cut me and I'll be gone about my way? He's like, but they obviously had a plan for me, and which worked out, man. And I was forever grateful.
What was that like? The transition from receiver.
Man, it was hard. It was very hard, man. I mean, imagine you being a professional in one profession, and then somebody asks you, to do a job, a completely different job. I liken it to this, man. You've grown up, and all your life you've been a distance runner. You've run the mile, you've run the 5 mile, you've run distances. And then you get to the Olympics and they say, by the way, we want to put you in the 100 and the 200. And now you got to run sprints. I mean, it's a totally different beast. It's a totally different animal. The thing about playing tight end versus a receiver, like it is a totally different animal. The way you block at receiver versus the way you block at tight end. And you can't play in the NFL if you can't block at tight end. If you can't, in our offense, especially the offense I was in with the Terrell Davis in the backfield, you got to create holes. You got to do the dirty work. And if you couldn't do that, you weren't going to get on the field. And so I had to learn quickly that, when you're a receiver, you're just, shadow blocking and just getting in front of the guy, more like basketball. But when you're on that line as a tight end and you're working with a tackle or whatever, you got to move people. You got to get people moved, either right, left, up the field or something. You got to create those holes and those seams. So it's a lot more physical, a lot different technique as far as, where you're going to strike and where you're going to put your hands and how you're going to move people that don't want to be moved.
Right. I know Austin had a question too, but I had one more quick thought. So what was it like then learning from Shannon Sharpe?
Oh, it was the best, man.
I bet.
Everyone thinks about Shannon, and Shannon has a huge personality. He's probably one of the funniest football players on the planet. But the guy, to me, is one of the smartest football players I've ever played with. He is the most well-prepared football player I ever played with. So that's why Shannon could really clown around on the football field, is because he was so prepared. Like he did his homework and he was ready to go. And one of the things that he taught me was that, man, you got to do your homework. You got to study. You got to be prepared. He would send me home. And back then, when I first got to the NFL, it was VHS. He sent me home. Like my coach would give me like 2 VHSs, and you take those home to watch. Well, Shannon would give me 4 and be like, okay, you watch these 2. And then we'll talk about these in the morning when you get here in the morning. So he was always on me. He was always quizzing me. He was always teaching me. And not only did he teach me, like I said, how to become a tight end and the techniques and the things of that sort, but he actually taught me how what it was to be a pro and how to be a pro. And forever grateful to him, man. He was definitely my biggest mentor in the NFL.
That's a hell of a resource.
Absolutely. And not to jump back real quick, but when we were talking about blocking, which I'm sure Shannon helped out with a lot too, because he was pretty solid at it himself. Who would you say was probably the hardest guy you had to block online?
The hardest guy.
You probably went up against some animals on the defensive line.
I went up against some great DNs and outside linebackers. The thing about it, thinking about some of the guys when I first got moved to tight end, Reggie White was still in the league, and I played against Reggie White. Had to block Reggie a couple of times. Reggie's one of the greatest to ever do it. I remember when I first got there, Neil Smith, Kansas City Chiefs. He was when I first got in the league, he was on the bad side. He came and joined us and won a couple of Super Bowls with us. But he was a beast to block. Him and Derek Thomas in Kansas City. Javon Curse, the freak.
Oh yeah.
Javon Curse. Yeah. I mean, he was a absolute nightmare, and athletic, long, fast, stronger than you thought. He was definitely a guy that was an athletic freak, and so I played against those guys, and those are some of the tougher guys that I faced, as I made my transition to the tight end.
Not a bad list.
No, not bad at all.
Yeah, we got to see Neil Smith and Derek Thomas twice a year. That was
that's crazy.
Fun. And then eventually Neil joined us over on the good side, and we were able to win a couple of Super Bowls. And he was one of my favorite teammates, but I still had to block him in practice, which I hated because it always seemed like he knew the play. It always seemed like he knew when I was going to block him or down block or whatever block I was going to try to hook him. And he was a beast, man. Good player.
Made you better then.
Yeah, he made me really better. And another guy that I went up on a daily basis with, and he wrote about me in his book, which I it made me feel really good, was Bill Romanowski.
Oh,
Bill is a guy I faced every day in practice, and if you read his book, he gives me a little shout out in his book saying that everybody thought going up against Shannon Sharp made him the better player that he was. And he said, no, he gives the credit to going up against me every day in practice because I would work Bill. I really would. And,
that's awesome.
I wouldn't let him get away with the cheap stuff. And I'd play a little dirty with him if he wanted to play dirty. But the other part about it was, I was a receiver, so Bill had a hard time covering me in practice. Oh, yeah. And so he would always want to see the play over again after I beat his ass. But in fairness, man, it made him better. It made him a Pro Bowl linebacker because he made a couple Pro Bowls with the Broncos.
Absolutely. And so we were talking, switch gears a little bit. We were talking about some of the stuff going on with the CBA. And how they just postponed it again, or the deadline, or moved it back. Yeah. Do you think they're going to keep doing that, or they're going to get it right this time? Or I don't really know much about it.
For me, I hope they're moving it back because the players, there's things that they're going to be demanding changes and stuff that's going to make it better for the current players and the former players. So I look at them moving it back and whatever as a good thing. I don't think you take the first offer, especially from the owners, because they're looking out for themselves. The owners are truly looking out for themselves. So if they give you an offer, and they put something together and get it to you, I mean, you'd be crazy to sign it right away without going through it with a fine-tooth comb, seeing any areas that you can improve, and you can better negotiate for yourselves and for your former players, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you're going to be a former player too. And so you got to put things in place that are going to benefit you not only now, but then.
And
Yep.
I saw some of those things that you're talking about. They're looking to really help with players before, during, and after their time in the NFL, and take care of everybody. Do you know some of the benefits to retired and players on the other end of the NFL?
Yeah, some of the things that I see is for players who are very disabled and need in-home care, they're increasing that number per year of how much the NFL pitches in. So you got a guy that may have some disabilities and needs in-home care. Those numbers are going up. You see, there's some things as far as medical, like drug reimbursements when guys have prescriptions and things of those things are going up. Some things that are going to affect me directly, I see, is the tuition reimbursement is going up. For me, because I played, I think 5+ years, you're going to be allowed $85,000 a year tuition reimbursement. So when you guys are going back to school, completing their bachelor's, master's, or PhDs, there's more money in that pot for you to go do that. For me, that affects me because I'm currently in school right now, getting my MBA at Fordham University in New York, and so I welcome that additional money.
Absolutely,
that's awesome.
The other thing that I see that's going up is for players. Players across the board, whether they're pre-93 or after, our pensions are going up.
Oh, that's never a bad thing.
That's never a bad thing. Pensions are going up with that. So I really appreciate that. and like I said, it's pertinent for these guys who are negotiating right now to think about these kind of things, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, they're going to be former players at some point, and these things are directly going to benefit them. So it's pertinent that they put these things in place right now while they're current players, and they still have a say. They still have a little power in making these decisions happen.
It is cool to see the veterans being such a strong voice for the younger players right now too. Like I know the Pouncey twins are really they're putting out a lot of videos about their opinions and how they're going to get it right for the young players and stuff. It's cool to see them taking care of them.
Yeah, there's definitely a big.
And the thing about it was, a lot of times in the past, you get these, negotiations for CBAs, and guys would just be thinking about themselves and how is this going to affect me directly right now, this moment, whether it's with lighter practices, whether it's with shorter training camps, whether it's, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And now guys are really thinking about, okay, I'm trying to leave a legacy in this game. I'm trying to make it better. I'm trying to, for the guys who are coming after me, I don't want them to go through the same stuff that I went through, and try to make it a smoother transition for them. And then also, protecting themselves after the game and understanding that's going to be them in a few years. And how can I put things in place that are going to benefit me for the rest of my life? Because, the reality is this, that NFL window is a small window in your life.
Not for long.
Even when you're a guy that, like me, you played 10 years, that's a pretty long career. I've got friends that played 14 and 15 years. That's pretty long. But then when you add that up in the totality of your lifespan, it's just a small little window. Right. So you have to take advantage of it.
And it looks like you said, they're doing a lot to help out to prepare for the future. One of those things being they're bumping up the revenue share for players from 47% to 48.5%, which obviously 1.5% doesn't seem like it's a ton, but in the grand scheme of things, that's a lot more.
Yeah. When you're talking about a $39.8 billion
Yeah.
That's a lot.
TV revenue deal. It's a lot.
And then as well
I'll
as
take that one. I'll take that 1%.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And
Just deposit that in my account.
with talking about stuff after the fact, they're also working on making minimum salaries expand by I think 17.6%, which would be awesome for some of the younger players and guys who are kind of or even older players who have been journeymen, people just trying to still make it in the league and be able to make a good salary off of that. So I think that's pretty cool as well.
I'm going to propose that to my work as a 17%
pay raise.
salary. Yeah, like the NFL's doing it. Come
on. With that being said, I wanted to ask you guys something. Obviously, with the salaries and minimum salaries going up a little bit, we see that they're potentially going to be having 17 games going into 2021 with more meaningful games. And then obviously they'll be eliminating some of the preseason games. I've wondered if anybody else had thought about the idea of it affecting people trying to make it in the NFL. And people's careers in the NFL, being that a lot of players make or break their career in preseason.
Right.
We've seen that type of thing before. So I was just wondering if maybe that's what that minimum salary expansion was, to be able to help with something like that. I just feel like with eliminating less meaningful games, those are still meaningful to certain people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like to watch those late ones.
I agree. I like to watch. I like to watch those preseason games, and you're exactly right. And that's the one thing that I'm concerned about. How is this going to affect those late round draft picks and those free agents making the team? Because that is the time where you get your opportunity, you get your chance to show what you can do, and a lot of times as a undrafted guy or late round draft pick, you don't get that many opportunities. So if you're not getting that many opportunities, and now they're cutting out one or two of those opportunities as well, right. Now there's really not much you can do. Guys are going to draft guys, and they're going to stick with their higher picks, and they're going to be a lot of guys who are 5th, 6th, 7th round draft picks that we don't know what they can do. But
you know what?
And we might not see what they could do.
That's going to put a lot of talent in the XFL is what that's going to do.
It's going to. There's a couple of other leagues. Yeah, the XFL. Mm-hmm. There's a new league, Freedom Football League, is supposedly launching in 2021. So there'll be some places for them to play. But all that being said, you're still going to miss on some guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Tom Brady's of the world, the Terrell Davises, the guys who come out of those 6th and 7th rounds that you're just not going to have the time to put them on the field and give them the opportunity, and you're going to have to make gut decisions. And my instinct says that a lot of teams are going to go with their 1st and 2nd and 3rd round draft picks, and maybe a 4th round guy, and those other guys are just not going to get chances or get opportunities. And they're going to say, hey, go to the XFL, go to the Freedom Football League, and prove yourself there, and then we'll see you on tape and maybe come back. But I just know that there's a lot of guys that make up the core of your team that are in those rounds, and that and they're not going to get those opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm being long-winded right here, but I remember having a conversation with a scout one time, and we're talking about a kid, and he was from a small school, and I think he may have been like a free agent. And he came into camp one year, and he was playing his ass off. He really balled out. Every opportunity he got, he showed up, he showed out, and he made an impression not only on for himself, but he made an impression for other teammates. And I remember talking to the scout, and he was saying, well, they're probably going to go with this guy because they drafted him in the 2nd round. And I'm like, well, he's definitely outplayed that guy in the 2nd round. And the guy in the 2nd round was from a big school, a big D1 school. Mm-hmm. This undrafted kid was from a small school, maybe even a D2 school. And he told me this. He said, "Listen, this kid that we got in the second round played big time football against some big time opponents, the Michigans of the world, the Penn States of the world. And if I miss on him, it's okay. But if we select this guy and he's your starter, and then something happens and you miss on this kid from nowhere, you're gonna get fired. That'll get you fired."
Yeah.
Right.
So I suspect we're gonna see a lot of that happening now that they're gonna add more regular season games and cut preseason games.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's kind of unfortunate that the narrative is that you have to get a return on your investment. You don't play the best player. The second round pick is a big investment.
Yeah, it's always unfortunate. It's one of those situations. We go back to it. It's business.
Byron, does the name Jordan Elliott ring a bell?
Jordan Elliott, yes, University of Missouri, D tackle.
Yes, sir. Well, what do you think about him? Because I was doing a mock draft the other day, and with that extra third, that I think the pick's like 104, 105. He's right there.
I think he's a good player. I think he's a talented player. I think 105 puts him in the third round.
It's like the second to last pick in the third. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to me, talent wise, he's a second. He's a second, a mid second to high third round talent wise. So if you get him at the end of the third, I think you're getting a steal. I think he's one of the things that I think that I would question about him, and hopefully some NFL coach will get it right is get him right with it is his motor. Make sure the guy's playing hard every play, because when he does, he dominates, and he's a guy that comes from that tradition of that University of Missouri D-line tradition. They call it the D-line zoo there, and they put out some good guys, some good players in the last 10 to 12 years, and he's one of the guys that I look for to be the next great Missouri Tiger D lineman in the NFL.
And I saw he's like 6'4", 315, and I watched a little bit of film on him, and he's so lengthy too. Just couldn't help but think him with Andre Patterson is kind of a perfect match.
The thing that for a 6'4", 315 guy, his quickness is one of his great abilities. And if you watch film on it, you see him a lot in the backfield.
Yep.
And making tackles behind the line of scrimmage, and just getting off on the ball where guys can't block him.
It kind of reminded me of like the Danielle Hunter thing, where he was always there. He was in the backfield. He just didn't have like the 15 sacks that jump off the screen. So it'd be just giving Patterson a player to mold, and they need that 3-tech.
And the thing about that is, when you're a guy that can do that, when you can get in the backfield quickly from the interior of the defense, that's when you break down a lot of plays, and that's where a lot of plays can break down for the offense, because you got the running back who maybe has to go to a different hole that he's not expecting, because you've already filled that gap. You got the quarterback who has to slide out, slide right, slide left, or take a deeper drop, because you've got direct penetration right in his face. So those kind of guys, they ruin offenses. I think of a guy I played against for years, Warren Sapp. He was that guy. He was that guy that was going to put pressure right up the middle, whether he was lined up over the guard or over the center, but he was going to be in your quarterback's face all day, and it was going to just ruin your offense.
Yeah, I don't know enough about him yet to know if he's the kind of player that could take over for Linval at the one, but if they were to cut him, or if they should keep Linval and then have him be more of a pass rusher on the interior.
I see him as a guy that can do both, man. He can play the run and he can play the pass. I mean, he's big enough at 315 to
he should be high on the board.
Yeah, I think so. But I think if you can get him at the end of the third, you got a steal right there. Yeah. Because he's a mid-second round talent. And maybe I'm a little biased, but I like the guy. I like.
I was gonna say there's
I
nothing
just,
wrong with
like
raw
I,
talent.
like I said, no, but like I said, my only thing about him is his motor. Can I get him? Can I get a coach to get him where he's playing hard every play and he's dominating every play? Because yeah, like you said, there's nothing wrong with raw talent.
Got to think Zimmer is one of the coaches that could get the motor cranked up.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, the other thing too, man, is there's a lot of competition there on that line for the Vikings. So guys are going to quickly recognize when you're coming into that, these guys play hard. These guys play tough, they play fast, and they play hard every down. And they're out here hunting. They're out here hunting quarterbacks. They're out here hunting running backs. And if I'm going to be a part of this, I gotta match their effort. So I think that'll be a key to bringing in whoever they bring in the interior.
for sure.
Yep. And I think I want to wrap it up on that note, and we can get, as this draft stuff, this news about postponing and stuff comes up, we'll kind of touch more on that next week and see where we're at, because we got the NBA shutting down. We got all sorts of stuff happening. So I'm sure next week we'll have a whole nother list of stuff to talk about. And one of the last things I want to say before signing off is, Byron, I'm glad the Packers didn't pick you, because I don't think you'd be here right now talking to us. So thanks, Packers, for taking Freeman, and so we can be here right now.
I was gonna say
that's
Viking,
the only nice thing I'm ever gonna say to the Packers is thanks for that.
And the other thing too is I'd only have one Super Bowl.
There you go.
See, everything works out.
Everything worked out.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
Hey,
see you guys.
go.
Skol.
All right.